Hello and welcome to Plane Time 27, another live in the clear broadcast from the Florida Aviation Network. Today we're coming to you from the beautiful studios of Gizmo Productions USA in Oviedo, Florida. Thank you for joining us. My name is Bob Jex. I'm one of many hosts at the Florida Aviation Network. Today we're here to talk about drone safety. There's some very important things to cover in drone safety, much more than we have time for to go into depth on anything, but we very much want to cover some of the tips of various icebergs in the drone industry. Thank you for joining us, especially if you're a conventional pilot getting ready to take on drones, or if you're already a drone pilot looking to up your game. We're very much interested in having you with us, and we want you guys to listen in, sit back and enjoy, grab a snack, grab a colleague, and enjoy this wonderful production of the Florida Aviation Network. Today, our guest is the very talented Raul Salazar. Dr. Raul Salazar is an entrepreneur, educator, pilot, and innovator. He is an adjunct professor at the Florida Institute of Technology, where he teaches courses in unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS. Dr. Salazar has already authored over 160 courseware titles and taught to over 15,000 people, including many Fortune 500 companies and even NASA. In addition to his passion for technology and education, Dr. Salazar is an avid helicopter and gyroplane pilot as well as a remote pilot. He leads a company called Blades Over Me in Valcaria, Florida, specializing in gyroplane sales and instruction. He also is a Fast Team lead representative, and I have worked with him for many, many years out of the Treasure Coast FAA safety team, a very prolific team that he leads as a volunteer. Raul is also one of a select handful of hand-picked drone pros in the Orlando FSDO. Raul, welcome back once again to our stage at
Thank you
Plane
for having
Time.
me, Bob.
Thank you for very much. Raul, please tell me, what is a drone pro?
Well, a drone pro is a volunteer selected by the FSDO and is a member of the FAA safety team. And we are kind of trained and given some of the tools to be able to convey into the community the safety and the management and the flying of drones.
So if I have questions about drones, I might reach out to a drone pro, somebody
Yes.
like you.
Yes.
You know, most drone pilots are generally trying to stay on the right side of regulations and the law and the operational and safety considerations. What should they be thinking about for each flight? Tell me a little bit if you know about pilot certification changes.
Well, the certifications have changed. We're going to get to new ones, but right now we have Part 107. If you are an individual that doesn't have any Part 61 certificate from the FAA, one of the things that you can do is study and then take the FAA written test, and you will become a Part 107 pilot.
Is there a difference between recreational drone flying and commercial drone flying?
Yes, there is a very big difference. With the Part 107, you can get paid. With the recreational, you cannot. Even if you say to your friend, "Oh, I'm going to take some pictures of your house so you can use it on your real estate," you are already having issues because you cannot do that
In the commercial area.
in the commercial
Yeah.
area.
Pilots have to be very careful about doing things the right way, and that's why it's important to stay up with the changes that are coming in the regulations, and they are very, very common to see regulatory changes. What about the drones themselves, registrational changes?
Well, it is important to register the drones, and nowadays, after this December, two things happen. Number one, every pilot, even the Part 107, needs to take the trust test, which is a recreational test. And it's not really a test, it's really a class that you take online for 25 minutes, 20 minutes, and they give you a little certificate, because one of the issues that the FAA wants to attack is the fact that there's a lot of people flying drones where they are not supposed to, and they don't know the rules. This way we are trying to educate the community. And that is a big difference. The Part 107, you can fly as a Part 107 in the recreational area. And one thing that we need to remember is that you need to register those drones. If you're going to do commercial operations as a Part 107, there is no escape. Registration is required. So you have to do for every drone one registration. It costs only $5.
And this thing called remote ID is now very
a requirement.
Common.
Yes.
Yeah, now a requirement.
Yes.
Even on the recreational drones.
Even on the recreational, because it indicates where you are flying, and it knows if you're in the wrong place or not, but it's just a way of finding out. The only time that you will not use a remote ID is you're what is called an AFRIA, which is an area where the FAA granted the ability for that group, that it could be a group of RC enthusiasts or pilots that want to fly there, so they allow them to do without their remote ID, but it has to be requested by the group for that area.
Yeah, yeah, it's changing. Drones are changing everything. Are there any testing requirements that are new in the regulatory rule book?
The only part that is, so you get your Part 107, and depending on the area where you want to exercise your Part 107, then you may need some additional certification or permits or waivers. So for example, if you get into agriculture, ag or spraying, you need to be now on Part 137, and you need to get all the paperwork, all the training, all the manuals and everything, and then be inspected by the FAA, but you have to have the drone before, and you can see it in there, before you start requiring or asking for that permit.
How about flying at night or flying over people? That's covered by regulations now.
Now it is. We used to have a waiver, but since the rule changed, now you're allowed to fly over people. There are certain categories. So if you get to have the smallest drone that is weight less than 250 grams, then one of the things that you gain is that you can fly over people as long as you put guards on the blades. And if you go higher than that, you get into a different category. Then you're required to put parachutes, things like that, to make it safer.
Amazing, amazing. If I'm a drone pilot and I'm planning to go do a commercial flight with my Part 107 certificate, I need to consider some things for the flight that I'm getting ready to make. What are some of the flight planning do's and don'ts when considering operating a drone over, say, a residential neighborhood?
Well, the first thing which is one of the problems that we have today with a lot of real estate agents, they don't realize where they are. So the first thing that you need to do is, there are several apps that you can download from the FAA or use that allows you to find the airspace where you're going to do that operation. And if it is a space that is under the airport airspace, then you need an airspace authorization. So you need to plan for that. And in some cases, you use something called LANC that in real time will give you the authorization for that particular airport.
How do you spell LANC?
LAANC.
Okay.
And one of the things that happen is that you should be able to require that one, but find a space, go and do some discovery, check your weather, make sure that you have the right amount of batteries, because as everybody knows, the more wind you have, the more energy you're going to use on that battery, because you're going to have to hover, especially when you're doing residential or commercial operations. But it is important to do the planning, to do your flight planning, to check your drone, to make sure that you have no nicks or breaking blades or anything, broken blades or anything related to those drones when you're going to do that operation.
If I get visited by the local constabulary, the local police, they come out to visit me while I'm doing this residential drone operation, what do I have to show them? Do I have to show them anything?
Yes, you have. So the first thing that you do is you land the drone. You're not going to keep it flying. So you land the drone, and if it is the police or anybody, you need to provide ID. That is either a federal ID or state ID. Driver's license will be fine, and then your certificate. And if you are in an area in which you need to have an air authorization, you need to have that print. Or show the authorization on your phone, because it gets to done automatically.
Is the advent of real ID changing the type of ID that we could show to law enforcement? Now that we have real ID in the state of Florida, do I have to show real ID?
Yes.
Does that count? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same when you're flying a plane or when you're going to go into a flight.
Okay. What are some of the things that I should absolutely not do if I'm planning a drone flight?
Number one, not doing a discovery where the flight is going to take place, number one. Number two, what are the regulations in that particular area? Some people tend to go to a residential area and there is a park on the side of that residential area. Well, you don't know if the county is allowing or the city to take off from that area. So you got to check all those things because you may not be allowed to take off from the grass.
So there may be several layers of regulatory frameworks that you
Yes.
have to operate in compliance under.
Right.
That's a lot to look at.
Yep.
A lot to look at. All right. What are some of the safety programs that a person might want to avail themselves of?
Well, the other thing before you go flying, checking your winds, doing the lands authorization. Then you have what is called the NOTAMs to find out if you have a TFR or if you have anything else flying in there or any additional information about that flight that you're going to do on that area. So you have a lot of places from the FAA that allows you to find that information.
There are a number of FAA-approved places that a person can go. There are probably hundreds of commercial places that a
Yes.
person can go to look for drone information. There's even a new website out there that offers what's called DROTAMs.
Right.
But they're not officially, that's not an official FAA product yet.
No, but you can go to the NOTAMs and you will find in there the information that you need. And the other thing that you need to remember is that if you're going to do commercial operations and you need to request air authorization and that airport that you happen to be working on, though is not working with the lands yet, you have to go to the FAA drone zone and go through the process in there. And don't make the assumption that it's going to take 1 day or 24 hours. Depending on where you are, it can take from 3 days to 90 days. And because we're having a lot more commercial operations, it's taking a lot more time.
Even though a lot of it is repeated
Yeah.
types of authorizations, the volume
It is
is
the volume what we
weighing
have
the
in the
system
issue.
down. Do I have to call the tower if I'm getting ready to fly near towered airspace?
No, you should not call the tower. By doing your air authorization or using lands automatically, the tower at that airport gets to be notified. If it is a non-tower airport, then it's a different process and not necessarily they're going to be on lands, but you may have to be careful and sometimes talk to the manager of that airport.
Should I notify residents in the area if I'm getting ready to fly over a residential neighborhood?
Well, depending on what you're going to do. If you're going to do real estate residential, I will say from my experience, one of the things that we do is we go to the neighbors and we say, hey, we're tomorrow going to go and take pictures of this house because it's going to go for sale and we want to put those pictures on the website. So they understand, we'll give them the time, the date, and what we're going to do, and they're happy that they were notified.
Good. I certainly would want to be notified if a drone was flying over my neighborhood.
Yeah.
For sure. What about receiving instruction? Suppose, I'm new to the drone industry. Maybe I already have a private pilot certificate. I want to get interested in, I'm already interested in drones. I want to get some good training. Are there instructional outlets that a person can avail themselves of?
Yes, well, the first thing that I will say to any pilot that wants to become a drone pilot is go to the FAAsafety.gov, take the course that is there for Part 61 initial pilot, and then find a CFI that will process the paperwork. If you fly with no certificate doing a commercial operation and you are a FAA certificated pilot, you can lose your license. because whatever you do on this area will affect the other one. So be aware that you gotta follow those rules, okay? Then you have, besides that, you have some places that you can go and do training. You have colleges, you have online courses, YouTube, things like that, that you can get the basics. And there are a lot of free simulators that you can download before you go flying. Everybody thinks that, let me get the drone, charge it, and go flying. No, it doesn't work that way.
It's almost too easy to get a drone. I remember going into a 7-Eleven one time, and it was around Christmas time, and there were actually not just one, but 2 different sizes of drones that you could get in a 7-Eleven. It was amazing.
Well, I remember when I started working as a fast team, I went to for Pierce and one of the malls in there, and this kid bought a drone, and he was talking to his friend, and they're going, well, why don't we go outside and see how high you can go? And he's like, that is the reason we have to educate not only the parents, but the kid. The trust test doesn't have an age limit. Anybody can take it from 5 years old, all of that. It's a tutorial, really.
If there is a fire nearby, can I operate my drone near the fire zone and get pictures for the local news?
You should not do that.
Okay, because
if you're in California, as an example, and you get a fire, you're gonna
you'll be hearing from the local constabulary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you should not be flying drones unless you're working with them to find out where the fire started or things like that.
The picture on your screen just a moment ago is emblematic of what we're talking about.
Yes.
If there's a natural disaster taking place, do not operate your drone near there. Let local authorities handle the problem with their resources. Yeah, very good. Gosh, now I just got my drone certificate. I just got my remote pilot certificate. Do I have to get a flight review,
Yes,
like for a conventional aircraft?
The rule applies the same as the regular pilot. So you have 24 months, and you get a recurrence training, which is, again, you go to the FAAsafety.gov and register for that course. It lasts, it's probably 40 minutes or so. And then print your little certificate, laminate it, and put it in your wallet, because you're going to need it. Because if you get stopped again by the police, they're going to say, okay, this is when was the last review?
Do I have to keep a logbook of my operations with a drone?
You should. It's required. And one of the things that I tell the students is that even when they're learning how to fly, start keeping track, because what is going to happen is that if you're going to work for a city, county, state, or any entity, they want to see what you have managed to accomplish, and the logbook will show you that. As we say, if you don't see it, it doesn't exist.
If you didn't log it, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Gosh, how much, Raul, does it cost to use some of these U.S. government websites like FAA.gov/UAS? How much does it cost to use FAAsafety.gov?
FAAsafety.gov is free. All of the courses that we have there for drones are free. The other thing that we have is the FAA, the drone zone, the only part that you're going to pay is $5 per drone if you're doing Part 107, and $5 for all the drones, because you only need one registration, you only need one remote ID, because under the recreational rules, you can move that remote ID module to each one of your aircraft.
I want to reach out to the commercial world. We've been talking about government websites and government resources, which are very important to know. The piloting world, the fixed-wing pilots and rotary wing and jet pilots, they have organizations like EAA and AOPA to help support what they do. Are there any organizations like that for the UAS industry?
Besides the FAA, we have 2. One is in Colorado and the other one is in Arizona. And they're pretty good keeping track of the rules and the changes, and especially the counties and the cities wants to put some rules that they, like the latest one, I don't remember what it was, that the governor wants to sign into law the ability to shoot down drones. And he's like, really?
That's not legal yet. I
No.
think that federalism would overrule that.
Yes.
My goodness. There is something that the FAST team likes to sponsor each year, Drone Safety. It used to be Drone Safety Day, and they spread it out to Drone Safety Awareness Week.
Yes.
And I think that's usually in April. Now, FAN is usually planning around Sun and Fun in
Right,
April.
we have it in April, and then we have a few days or weekends during the year, but the main event is in April. Then the FAA work with universities to sponsor all of those events, safety events.
Now, you work with drones primarily with FIT.
With FIT and then with the FAAsafety.gov.
Yeah, very good. My goodness, there are some programs I'm sure that a person can use. Is ForeFlight something that I can use if I have a drone, or is ForeFlight not really adapted to?
You know, ForeFlight, the only thing that I will show you are the NOTAMs and some information for the drones, but there are some other ones that you will use for planning, so depending on the area where you're doing your commercial, you have different companies that are providing those services.
Is LANC one of those programs, those applications that helps me determine?
No, the FAA give you some apps that you can download, and they're working with some companies that are private, and those applications are to install on your tablet or on your phone, and need to find the area where the airports are. What is the airspace that you're going to be using? So it will tell you you're near an airport, non-tower airport, and it will give you all of that, and it will give you the radius. But if you're going to do some planning for agriculture, mapping, inspection, then there is a lot of companies that have applications for that. Some of the apps are free. Some of the apps you gotta pay an annual fee.
You specialize in drone training with Blades Over Me. What should a person who's shopping for drone training be looking for in a training provider?
So there are two types of trainings. The training that you need to have for your studies to get your certificate. That is one. So that one, you can do it online, you can do it in person. But then the other one is that you get that certificate, but you really don't know how to fly. You really don't know what is safe, what is not safe, how many minutes you can fly, how to do the calculation of the batteries, and all those things that you need to have. So that is one of the courses that we do. And the course that I teach at the university, which is the advanced course in commercial operations, they come with the knowledge of all the regulation, all the rules, all the principles of what they can do with the drones and what are the different commercial operations that they can execute. And then what we do in that class, as an example, is we go every week to a place and we practice. First, we'll learn how to fly in the drone lab, but then we'll go outside and execute any of those operations. So they're not going to become an expert at the end of the class, but they have a general knowledge of what they need to happen to be able to accomplish that particular operation, like mapping, power line inspection, things like that, search and rescue.
If I want to take my drone and go from, say, Florida and fly out to my summer home somewhere near Oshkosh, Wisconsin, I want to take that drone as checked baggage. Is it safe to put the batteries and the drone equipment into my checked baggage on a commercial flight? Is that legal or is that illegal?
That is going to be illegal. The FAA is not going to let you, and the airlines are not going to let you put LiPo batteries into check.
It's an important point to ask in a safety presentation like this is don't ship your drone in your checked baggage. That's a no-no.
Yeah. You can put the drone with no batteries, and you have to carry the batteries. But
can I ship the batteries ahead via the U.S. mail?
The
Probably not.
The U.S. mail doesn't take batteries.
Nice to know if it comes down to that.
Depending on where you are going to, it's going to be by ground, and there are some carriers that will allow you to do that, and you got to follow some of their instructions.
Good to know. So plan ahead. If you need to transport your drone over a long distance, plan ahead and maybe ship via surface and with hazardous material markings.
Right.
What would you like to say to the audience today that we haven't covered that they should know and think about when they're doing safety operations?
Well, be aware where you are, number one. Number two, if you're doing it for recreational, make sure that you go and take that test. It's free. It's not a test really, it's a little course that you take and it teach you, and then you take the test at the end. So we'll take it as a training. And it's required since December of this year. So that is one thing. If you're going to do commercial operations, make sure that you have your Part 107 and that is current. And make sure, be aware where you are.
Do you work with any of the other drone pros in the Orlando FISDO or anywhere else nationally?
With some of the ones on the West Coast and some of the ones that we have in Indiana and I think it was Colorado.
If we have the chance, I would love to have you as a consultant for generating some sort of wings credit for the UAS community. If they modify FAAsafety.gov for the drone community. And
when I talked to Dave Bear, he says that they're working on that one, and probably next year we may have something with drone instead of wings
That's
program,
exciting.
drone program.
Very exciting, because the drone community is the fastest growing segment of aviation. Raul, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us today at this wonderful presentation. And we're reaching out to the drone community, both the people that are in it and the people that are getting ready to get into it. This is just one of the many topics that we present throughout the year at the Florida Aviation Network. And we only ask for a little bit of your time and attention, and you're learning things that help make you a safer pilot, even if you're not actually flying. You might be the remote pilot in command. We have some other additional material to put up for you for today's credit. This is worth wings credit, and we want you to see that before we cut away for the end of the day. Florida Aviation Network, again, broadcasting in the clear today from the Gizmo Studios, USA in Oviedo, Florida. Want to thank you for joining us. Please watch us throughout the year. Watch for a SPANS message coming to your email inbox. Stay current with FAAsafety.gov. We hope to see you guys on the flight line and at a future event hosted by Florida Aviation Network. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the weekend and fly safe.